Michael, hey, congratulations on the toll.
Thank you so much.
A few years ago, I covered the LA Film Festival, and I covered a film that you wrote called Head Count.
That's so funny. I love that you covered that. That's great.
So once again, you wrote another story, supernatural horror. So tell us where this idea came from.
It actually on set of Head Count was when I started writing. I got the idea and I started writing it, and it was a very fast process. And the idea had been gestating for a long time because I've always been just interested in the social dynamics of rideshare. I think it's a kind of a unique relationship, and that's sort of new to our sort of cultural experience because the whole rideshare thing, it was so kind of, we introduced it to the world and then it was like, oh, this is so fun, it's so new, and you're going to be best friends with the driver by the end of it. And then we quickly saw there was a whole darker side to it. And now it's just so interesting how some people want to talk and some people want to be silent, and it's just every ride. Of course, this is in the before times, but that every ride share is its own thing, and sometimes it's kind of tense. So I've been thinking about that, and just I was in the right environment on the set of Head Count, where we're in the middle of Joshua Tree, and it's headlights in the mist, and there's dogs barking in the night, and I just wanted to. I was like, what if I could just make a whole movie about the relationship between a driver and a passenger. I mean, I've always loved movies set on dark roads at night. And there's something kind of romantic and mystical and also terrifying about it. You're in this, this metal shell is protecting you from the dark world out there. And what if you have to go out into the world? And so I kind of gave myself the challenge of, I wonder if I could write all of this movie just on this relationship. And I loved the idea that you could do a long claustrophobic opening sort of one-act play, suspense play, that's set between these two characters and just them kind of getting to know each other and that ratcheting up the tension. And so that it was I was really kind of, I got that, I realized I could do that with the opening sequence, and I was off to the races.
Now, of course, in Head Count, you were kind of giving out all these hints throughout the entire movie, with the number and so on. Did you try to do the same thing in the Toll, or you wanted to divert away from that?
It was definitely a different approach. I mean, what I'll say is Head Count was very much also authored by the director, Elle Callahan. And I really felt like I was there to serve her vision. And I didn't want to sort of inject too much of my own kind of what I would do I try to divorce myself as a writer in those situations from myself as a director. So I think it was a whole other part of my brain kind of turned on once I was in director mode for The Toll. And knowing that I was writing something that I wanted to direct. And that's all to say that I think, Elle is so brilliant in how she wants you to give you an amazing second viewing. And for me, I guess I just have I'm like super focused on, okay, I want to just get all of the tension out of this relationship as I can. I mean, it was really, to me, focused on, I was thinking less about, I re-engaged the horror part of my brain after I figured out the core relationship. Because I really wanted it to be about Spencer and Cami. I mean, I wanted it to be a thriller that has a supernatural character in it. And that it's, it has these horror elements, but that it really at its core is about what's going on between these two people and the sort of back and forth. So I think it's like in Head Count, the mechanic I was always coming back to when I was scripting it was, let's keep planting things, let's keep setting up things for the audience to notice on the second viewing. And whereas in The Toll, the mechanic was, I want to keep going back and forth. Like, is he or isn't he? And, is this supernatural or isn't it? It was sort of that balancing on that seesaw repeatedly through the movie. So that was kind of my guiding philosophy for this script.
Well, then talk about the creature that you actually created. I like to call him the Toe Man, but I'm not even sure what you called him in the film.
Yes, you got it spot on. So he is the Toe Man. Yes. No, but I that's a fair point also, that he's not necessarily, we don't know everything about him. I mean, he's not all that similar to other eponymous horror characters. I'm not, to take the Babadook as an example, I'm not going to give us a whole sort of story of the Toll Man. I want him to remain ambiguous and mysterious. And part of that is he's just indicative of a larger world. But part of that too is that he's sort of this, I want him to be cosmic horror. I want him to be eldritch horror in the sense of being kind of almost alien and being otherworldly. And he's based on, I wanted to put a supernatural twist on the kind of storied figure of the highwayman or the highway robber, going back to the Middle Ages when it was perilous to set out and to travel on a road. There will always be people lying in wait to ambush you. And so seeing the kind of modern equivalent of that. And I was sort of researching highwaymen, and one of the phrases they used to describe them was gentlemen of the road. And that was originally, I was like, and of course it's too much of a mouthful, but I originally was like, oh, that's such a perfect horror character name, or just like the sort of a category of horror characters, gentlemen of the road, because it evokes this kind of polite, dignified, quiet presence that is also just terrifying, that is, inexplicable and bizarre, and is going to come and try and kill you. So that's what the Toll Man is to me, is he's a gentleman of the road.
How about the development of his face or his head? Where you came up with that concept? Because that, someone who looks like that could haunt your dreams.
I hope so. That's the goal. I do. So there were sort of I was really digging into a lot of just finding a lot of creepy imagery and just finding the things that scared me, it just visually and aesthetically. And I think on some level I was influenced by things like Annihilation a little bit. I think there's this sort of, the cosmic side of the sort of Lovecraftian side of horror, which is there's a middle ground between kind of earthly and like alien. He almost has a bit of kind of like he's from another dimension about him. But I wanted it to still be kind of grounded enough. I wanted him to be a bit grounded. So that's where I rested on this kind of fungal look, that he looks like he's some kind of a fungus or something. I mean, and so that felt bizarre enough, and the look of that, I think I just was finding imagery of just really bizarre art that of sort of Fungus's face, and I just kind of landed on that, and I thought, okay, yes, this is the right balance, sort of uncanny and it's cosmic, and that's how I kind of landed on that.
Now, as a director, you faced a couple of challenges for it. First of all, you had to film your movie in a car and also at night. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, so both, I was really signing up for some of the most challenging ways you can do a production. I would say the car was the harder element. I mean, at night, I have done night shoots a lot, and so I was kind of ready for that. I also like the visual reality of nighttime as giving a DP kind of a blank slate. And also we were shooting outside of Toronto, and the weather was extremely inconsistent. Would have been harder actually to shoot during the daytime, frankly, because at least you can conceal weather changes at night. So that was less of, I mean, it certainly is a challenge. It's exhausting on your body, and it's, there's a lot of just logistical challenges, but I was more prepared for that than I think shooting in the car, because I mean, certainly, well, I originally, the first question is always, are you going to shoot on a process trailer, or are you going to shoot with green screen or poor man's process? And I don't know, I still am not sure if I was very determined to have a process trailer, because I wanted, it's like, this is such a, that opening sequence is kind of how the movie came about to me. Like, it's such a critical part of the movie. And it was hard to imagine it being, I really felt like it needed to be as real as possible. And so I'm glad that I did it, but it certainly, it was one day on the process trailer. It's because it's such an expense, you have one day. And so much of that day is just setting it up. It's just getting all of the stuff onto the trailer. And then you go out and you do laps, around town on the trailer. And it was an amazing experience, but it was really hard. It's like I'm sitting there on the back of the trailer. We're like barreling down a highway. I've got the walkie-talkie. I'm like looking through the windshield at the two actors. And it's hard to direct that way. It's hard to direct from that distance and while you're moving like that. And obviously, I mean, what worked out well about it is I went into it thinking I don't want much coverage of the car. I want it to be like really claustrophobic, like you're stuck. You're stuck in this car. Because if you were, like the movie Lock is a good example where they really do every imaginable configuration around that car. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to keep it really stuck and really claustrophobic. So that kind of worked out well with the process trailer, but it was still very challenging just to get enough kind of material, because you just don't have much time when you're that constrained.
Absolutely. Well, it's a terrifying movie. So, hey, congratulations once again for the toll. And Michael, thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you so much. It was great.
Hey, thank you. Bye now.
All right, bye.